what happened in the British Grand Prix weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to XRS Plus, the number one podcast for XRS. It is the official one. I need to come up with an intro like that. You know what I mean? Podcasts have that kind of intro, the number one official, this and that. Right. We'll come up with that. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what should the intro be. But yes, welcome back. Round 11 is all wrapped up in one of the most iconic tracks in the F1 calendar, in real F1. It's been there since the very start, since 1950, and it has accompanied us in our first season in XRS as well. It's an interesting one, actually. I know it's a track that matters to a lot of people here because the majority of drivers, the highest nationality, the highest number of nationality here in XRS are English or British. So I guess it's a weekend that you want to win the race. You know what I mean? So it's very nice to see that. I think two or three of the drivers who were from England won their home race, which is very, very nice. Of course, it means a lot to them. It's interesting actually because the admin, well, the head admin, myself, and the league owner. While they're both both of us are related to England in our own way, in some way. Primarily, we're not actually from England, so it's actually quite interesting. That I guess you can kind of consider XRS as our home race is Silverstone. Anyway, interesting track, important track to a lot of people here in the league, and that definitely brought on some very good racing. We had rain in Division 1. And it kept dry for the remainder of it, actually. And it's not a track that is shy of bringing out the wet weather. So it's very interesting to see only one track or one race bring out the rain. And it was rain from start to finish as well, despite the fact that people did try on to the slick tyres. We're going to talk about that first, actually. We're going to lead straight away to Division 1. We usually start with Division 4, but no, actually, Liam, you're going to have to wait. We're going to talk about Division 1 first, actually. And we're going to switch out for those who have to wait usually all the way to the end of the video. We're going to talk about Division 1, the race on Sunday. We're going to work our way back all the way to Thursday. Division 1, and my driver winner has to go to Reese. And actually, that leads me on to my team winner. That has to be AlphaTauri. Unbelievable job by both of them. And I appreciate, obviously, very unlucky race for Mighty King. They were both running 1 and 2 at one point in the race. And unfortunately, too, I guess avoid the double stack, but also the fact that it was only a virtual safety car. They really didn't want to double stack the cars in the position they were in. Mighty King was either told or opted to stay out while Reese pitted. Of course, we know what the degradation is like on intermediates, especially a track like Silverstone, where the degradation is so high. Soft tyres are completely unusable, and medium and hard are primarily used. It really didn't work out for Mighty King. He ended up pitting, coming out, I think, 8th, and having to fight his way through. I will admit, though, his battle through was very, very good. And I think he finished, I want to say it was 6th. After penalties, I don't know. Div 1 is the only results that hasn't been done yet. The rest of them are going to talk about results. We're going to talk about the in-depth details. But for this one, it's a little bit more vague because the results haven't been done. But it's looking like it's going to be a P6. So pretty solid from him. It's currently 7th in the championship, 1 point behind Ziagli, who we did end up beating due to Ziagli's 3-second penalty. So that's good extra position in the championship for him. And AlphaTauri, of course, their fight with Alfa Romeo that's getting very heated in the overall Constructors' Championship, which we'll be talking about soon, and also be talking about McLaren as well, and their big changes this week. I'm very excited about talking about that. But as for Reese, once again, incredibly managed drive. He has very good battery management and raw paces there as well. We saw that in Austria. He's returned in Silverstone to do a very similar thing. And I mean, his overtake on Neb, round the outside of turn 3, swinging the car round, and almost opening the door for Toby Monkey to get through as well. Unbelievable, very well driven. And AlphaTauri dominate the driver winner, team winner section of this podcast for sure in this division. My driver loser, it cannot go to any other man but Matthew May. I mean, in every single league, there's always a couple man that just don't understand how to be safe. And while only one of his incidents this race was like ruining someone else's race or crashing into someone that cost him penalty points, this man is a penalty point collector. Koi will be proud of him. He ended up getting 20 seconds. And this is not one penalty, by the way. This is all of them added up. 20 seconds of post-race penalties and 8 penalty points. You're wondering why. 2 of those were for cutting the pit lane. One of them gave him 2 penalty points, one of them gave him 3. Very interesting. I think one of them because he cut across the entire track, whereas the other one, he just cut across like a little bit of it. So that's a 5-second 2 penalty points and a 5-second 3 penalty points. And then he got a 10-second 3 penalty points for absolutely torpedoing JB into Vale. He was one of the drivers that opted for the soft tyres, or at least the slicks. I think he was on softs, and it was still raining. Did not work. I mean, it was a potential idea. It might have worked, ended up not working, and he ended up taking JB with him. Very apologetic in chat, so fair enough to him. That's good. Show respect. But he did end up getting awarded a 10-second and a 3 penalty points for that. Now, adding that on to the 7 penalty, or is it 8 penalty points he has already? I'm gonna try and have a little look. Adding on to this points. I was wondering why I didn't think he had 7. I thought he had more than that. Points per race. No, not points per race. I'm supposed to be looking at penalty points. I'm looking at the wrong thing here, ladies and gentlemen. Penalty points. Matthew May has 12. That sounds right. He has 12 penalty points, which is, of course, equates to a race ban. He had that before. He served his race ban. He is now back racing. He's just been served another 8, which takes his total up to 20. Now, if you don't know how the penalty points work in this league, 9 penalty points is for a quali ban, 12 for a race ban. Then you have a little gap. Then there's another 15 for the second quali ban, 17 for the second race ban, and then 21 for a season ban. And if you get that season ban before the final quarter of the season, you get the ban all the way, not just to round 1 of the next season, but whichever round you got banned all the way to the next season. So he's 1 penalty point away from being banned from XRS until the end of season 2, which is unreal. Of course, with these 8 penalty points, he will be having a race ban next weekend in Canada, and he will be having a quali ban in Kota the weekend after. It's just very inconsistent, and I would complain to the team about why they've signed him. They need to have words with him, stuff like that. He's not even in a team. He's a reserve, and he now has the most penalty points of any driver in the entire league. Now, having a little look at the completed races, because I'm very curious about this, and I think you know where I'm going with this as well. Looking down to Matthew May, he's completed 4 races. This is not including the one he just did in Silverstone, because like I said, the results haven't been done. So he's done 5 races in total, and he's got 20 penalty points. This man is averaging 4 penalty points per race. Alec would be proud. And that is not a good way to be going. If he wants to actually complete the season, or at least race next season, he needs to just not race. I can't lie. I would say just be safe. I say that to most people, but just don't race. Don't touch the controller. Don't touch your wheel. Just step back. Rest of the season, I think just lay off it. Let FIFAs take your seat. I can't lie, because this is not a good look to be having. When you're a reserve and you nearly have a season ban, it's not a good way to be. But hey, it is. He's out for the race next week. My team loser is definitely going to be Red Bull. Banjo wasn't really anywhere. I mean, he was fighting in the midfield. Neb stuck it on pole, so fair enough to Neb. Very good pole position. I believe that's his first pole of the season. I will check. It is his first pole of the season. Wonderful, yeah. So that's obviously a very good accomplishment from him. However, he's stuck on the soft tyres. He began to drop back from Reese and from Toby Monkey and from those who were fighting with him. And then he decided to go for a very outrageous strategy and go for the soft tyres. Now, my issue with this, right? So Banjo went onto the soft tyres first. Or I think it might have been the mediums, actually. Or I should say the slicks. I'm not sure which ones it was. I believe it was mediums. Banjo went onto the mediums first. And it was very evident. Me, as an engineer, I was engineering the Ferraris that race. And I saw that Banjo was going slower. I looked at the timings. And he was lapping, I think, about 5 seconds plus slower than the intermediates at this point. That means that not only is the track still wet and the inters are faster, but it's no way even near the time for slicks. So why on earth is Neb, after talking to his teammate and hearing, no, right, the slicks are lapping 5 seconds slower, 5 seconds or more slower, why on earth would he go into the pits and try it as well? I mean, I can potentially turn the blind eye for Banjo, because he was low enough in the race to just give it a try. And if it worked, he would have come out very, very well. If it didn't work, his race would be ruined, as it was. But Neb, who started on pole, began slowly dropping down the order. Why on earth would you throw it all away? Because he was still in a position to score some good points. I mean, looking at his championship standings right now, looking at points now, Neb is 4th in the championship, and he's 1 point behind. 1 point behind him is Reese, who won the race. So he's now going to be dropping down an extra position. And he might actually get caught by Ziagli. I don't think he will, but it's close. I don't really know what Red Bull are doing. how have the two icons of teamwork, Banjo and Neb, pulled something so dumb? But hey, it is what it is. Strategies don't always work. They are my team loser. Righty, we're going to move backwards a day. We're going back in time, and we're moving on to Saturday's race. We're going to Division 2, and what a race. Very strategical race. Very much based on undercuts, overcuts, pit stops, tyre management, battery management. Very strategical race. If you're interested in watching that, I'm on the comms, of course. It is called Nicholas' Impressive P2 Debut Drive or something. Although I don't know why it says debut drive. So I guess Fetch has mistaken Nicholas for someone else, not Core. But anyway, I will rename that. But anyway, yes, watch the Division 2 race. I'm going to begin with driver loser, actually. My driver loser is Ronan Keane. Just very mid-drive, kind of honked. No, I'm kidding. My driver winner, Ronan Keane. Unreal, mate. Unfortunately, I was the only podcast we haven't been able to film over this season was Portugal for Division 1 and 2, because of course back then, for the first, I want to say 4 rounds, I did 2 podcasts per week. It seemed to fit better with one, so I ended up doing that. Unfortunately, I had to cut out basically Division 1 and 2, and they weren't able to be talked about. That did mean I missed Ronan's unbelievable drive in Portugal, so I would like to give him some appreciation. This is Ronan Keane's second domination. So there we go. You're getting double driver winner here, Kino. Yep, started on pole, finished right at the front. Massive gap, incredibly well managed. And I mean, he might have taken some tips from MCL the day before and seen what he didn't do and say, you know what? Okay, fine, I'll do that then. But I'll do it better. Unbelievable, yeah, Kino. And that's actually going to move you on to team winner. Mercedes, unreal, and they're really coming out of their shell now as well. And Mercedes, while it's got a couple names that I'm not too big on, Big B, but a very good lineup of drivers. And I've said this literally since the start of the season. Mercedes have one of the strongest lineups. They've got Kino, Malachi, Big B, CGM. Mick performs when he's really on it. Boldy's been performing this season as well. He's been doing very well. There's so many big names here in this team. And under the right management, they could really be pushed high. I mean, looking at the OCC now, of course, like I said previously, Division 1 results haven't been done. But they're sitting 6th in this massive battle for P5 we're watching with like 5 teams involved. And they're only 13 points behind Haas. It is not over for them in that fight. And while P5 is kind of a stab in the neck because we were assuming them to be a little bit higher up at the start of the season maybe, it's still a good accomplishment. It's still a way to start, and it's still a really good recovery from them being, I believe they actually dropped to P9 at one point and fell behind Aston Martin for a weekend. So it's still a good comeback nonetheless. Malachi qualifying 13th, again another relatively poor qualifying, but very well managed. He's obviously one of the more experienced drivers, not only in this division but in the entire league overall. So he was able to push back up, get a P5, not only get P5, beat Asteroid and Dylan, who started ahead of him. So very solid drive. Mercedes win both the winning awards for me. My driver loser. You know what? I'm going to do driver loser and team loser together as well, because this is a ridiculous one. My driver loser is my good friend Nick, and my team loser is Aston Martin. Now you might be wondering, what on earth does Nick and Aston Martin have in common? What link are you doing here, Avi? Well, I will tell you. Nick W has not been on it this season. And of course, as far as I know, it's because of IRL things. He's been very busy with sports in real life. He's been performing and he's been competing, which is very exciting for him. But it has brought back his practice for races, for league racing, and that has pulled back his performances, really. I mean, if you watch the podcast of the predictions at the start of the season, as far as I remember, I predicted him in the top 3, finish at the end of the top in the top 3 of the season. And if I check results now, obviously he's taken a 50-point penalty because he broke his contract. But Nick is on. Why can't I see Nick? Well, I can't find Nick. Nick. There we go. He's got minus 13 points, which means he had 37 before. The 37 would put him 13th. So it's been, and I predicted him to come 3rd. Or maybe it was 2nd. I know it was top 3. So that's how much we completely misjudged his ability. And that's not maybe his ability, I should say, but it's his commitment to be able to practice and stuff like that. So Nick decided to drop his seat, and in his replacement is the man who has come out of absolutely nowhere, the spin master, Corbinian. has been signed for McLaren. Now this means a couple things, right? First of all, Coy and Corbinian are teammates. Second of all, Coy and Corb are going to be teammates. This is the okay. I cannot wait to commentate Div 2. Yes, two of the bigger names in the league, Coy and Corbinian, will be teammates in McLaren. I cannot wait to see this. Which leads me on to my team loser, Aston Martin. This is the second race in a row that Corb has reserved for Aston Martin, got a podium, and they can't even get the points because they've used all of their reserve spots. So if you don't know how the reserve rules work, I'll explain them. So in one division, a team principal is allowed to use 6 reserves over a season. Once you hit 7 and plus, you can still reserve them, you can still use that seat to maybe stop other teams from getting that reserve, but you won't score constructors points from them, they'll only score drivers. And Aston Martin have used up their spots very, very early. So if you look at Corbinian's performances, we talked about this last week, obviously the first half of the season he was absolutely useless, sorry. But then coming back to the second half of the season, he's been an absolute devil. He's got pole in Belgium and finished P3. In Austria, he got pole again, spun in the sprint race, and then made it all the way back up to P3 in a wet feature race. So I don't even know how he did that. And then in Silverstone, he qualified 4th and finished 2nd. What? I can't even fathom why he was so bad in Williams. Spun every race, had all the memes. And obviously there was a big breakup with him and Williams. It's one of the biggest rivalries, actually, Williams and Corb. We see it almost every single day in a race weekend, in the stream chats as well. It's a very exciting one, actually, in the long term of things. But Corb has he's evolved in the week break, and I don't know how he's done it. He reserved for Mercedes in Belgium and then Aston Martin for the most recent 2, and got podium in all of them. Aston Martin won't score any of those points because they've used all those reserve spots. I think it's just funny that Aston Martin, while they might be cheering him on, they get absolutely no benefit from it. So they're definitely my team loser for a weird reason there. But yes, Corb has been signed to McLaren. I'm not going to talk about McLaren in the long term until we get to Division 3, because of course, as we know, Division 3, McLaren have signed a new driver as well. So let's just skip to that now. Let's go. So you move on to Division 3, as I always say, you know what I'm going to say, my neck of the woods. It is the Friday race that was very, very good for me. As we know, I won the race, but enough about me. I won't actually give myself driver winner. But as you guys know, when I do give myself driver winner, which I believe has only been once in Monza. Have I had driver winner anywhere else? I don't think so. Anyway, in Monza I gave it to someone else as well as me, because I think it's a bit unfair if I just give it to me. I'm not even going to give it to myself, although I do think my drive was unbelievable. So if you guys want to watch me doing good and me driving unbelievably, me winning a race, if you would like to see that, I invite you to watch the highlights. It's a great race for me. But anyway, my driver winner is going to be Kamikaze Caddy. Is it Caddy or Cady? It might be Cady. I'm going to give it to Cady Jack. Great race, very good race. He was reserving for Haas. I believe this is his first podium of the season. Unreal. And I will say that I remember when Cady and Skiz joined the league. They joined together. I believe they're mates, and they were a bit all over the place. They were a bit dangerous. I mean, I remember in Monza, they were crashing. They both reserved for Williams that race. Both crashed. Had both having problems. I don't know. But they really picked it up. Second half of the season, they've been on it. I mean, Skiz came second behind me in Belgium, beat me in Austria by 1 position and won the race in Austria. And then, obviously, Cady's come through, got this podium in Silverstone. Qualified 8th, so solid. I mean, for Haas, I mean, P8 is still a good qualifying. But they came up, battled me pretty much the entire race. He was my main rival fighting that race, as we were trying to catch up with MCL, who made an incredible gap, because we were getting absolutely torpedoed by Tom on softs. But yes, it very good drive from him. We both, with the better strategy than MCL, dragged ourselves all the way up to him. I managed to get past. Unfortunately, he couldn't because he sped in the pit lane, so 5 second. But still, P3, very, very solid drive. That has led him on to being signed by McLaren. Now is the moment where I talk about McLaren. So they've signed Coy, they've signed Corb, they've signed Cady. Will they be able to hold the Alphas back in the OCC? I'm going to go have a look. Let's go find out. So without Div 1, the points looking, Alfa Romeo are 10 points ahead of McLaren, and Alpha Tauri are 78 points behind McLaren. First of all, how on earth have Tauri fallen back so much? I'm not going to lead on to anything like that. I'm just going to put the question out there. What on earth has happened there? In terms of Division 1, which I know we've talked about before, but I'm interested to know how that's going to change the results. Alfa Romeo finished decent. McLaren finished terribly. AlphaTauri finished very well. So already, I mean, I know obviously these two signings are going to be bigger next week because obviously we're going to have Katie in the seat, we're going to have Corb in the seat. But Tauri are going to gain quite a bit on McLaren, and McLaren are going to fall back from Alfa Romeo. So positions will still stay the same: P2 Alpha, P3 McLaren, P4 Tauri. Do I think the McLaren are going to beat Alfa Romeo with this new lineup? No. Do I think that McLaren are going to beat AlphaTauri with this lineup? Maybe. And it's very, very interesting to see because this season has got on its head. We did not expect any of these teams to be fighting, as if you watch the predictions video. And obviously, I'll talk about this at the end of the season as well. But that's naturally going to happen because at the start of the season, a lot of the names were different. It was a brand new league. We didn't know what really was going to happen. Obviously, at the end of this season, we're going to watch, me and Raven are going to film a video where we're reacting to our predictions. And seeing how right we were, how wrong we were. And we'll also be predicting Season 2 as well. They will be much, much more accurate because now we're getting it's less vague. We know what's going on in the league. We know who the big names are. We know who's fighting for the titles, all this and that. But the fact that we're having such a massive battle for P5, and that's still carrying on pretty much, but there are teams dropping off the back. And there's this massive battle for P3 between Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri. How on earth have they caught McLaren so quickly? It's not even a battle for P3 anymore. Well, actually, that's a lie. It is still a battle for P3. I think Alfa Romeo are going to run away with it. I think Alfa Romeo are going to finish P2. And I don't actually think McLaren are going to have anything to say against that. Because like I said, the point gap is 10 right now. And they way outscored McLaren in Division 1, which hasn't been added to the results yet. So I'm imagining the gap's going to be around 25. I don't know if McLaren are going to catch that. 25 is a very small gap in the grand scheme of things, in 4 divisions, 8 drivers, but still, Alfa Romeo's lineup is very strong. Vlad's been performing very well, Breezy's performing very, very well. Their Division 3 got a 1-2 in qualifying, so evidently if Pink shows up, he can perform well. If you're looking at Div 2, I'd argue they have the advantage. I think that Aya and Dodo seem to make mistakes quite a bit, despite how good Dodo's been this season. What am I saying, Aya? Aya's not even signed to that seat. Aya was a reserve. Thiak and Dodo seem to make a lot of mistakes, while as quick as they have both proven themselves to be. Div 1, Alfa Romeo slaps McLaren. I don't think, the signings are very good. I still don't think the McLaren are going to catch Alfa Romeo. So I think the battle's going to be with Tauri, but I'm very excited to see. Orange versus black, or navy blue, I suppose. Anyway, moving on to Division 3, which we're supposed to be talking about. Moving on to Division 3, my driver loser is going to be my old man. It's going to be my boy, it's going to be my rival, it's going to be Matt. Honker. I'm going to tell you guys a little story about Turn 1 and how beautiful it is, how hilarious it was for me. Sorry, Matt, if you're watching this. So I started in 6th, I had a honker qualifying. I was on provisional for the first runs, and I messed up my final run because I hit the inside curb of Stowe and went through it sideways and lost 3/10. That wouldn't have put me on pole, but I think it would have put me about P2, P3, which sucks. Because when you mess up a quality lap, especially that late, it sucks. I started P6, Matt started P4, he was directly in front of me, right? So I'm thinking, because my starts are often quite good, obviously I'm on no traction, so I think it's almost universally known that my starts are quite good. I'm thinking, if I get a good start, I know the run to Turn 1's quite small. If I could just get beside him, maybe I can get past him. If I get past him at Turn 1, we're good. Because obviously I've only got, at this point I only had I think it was 16-point lead in the championship. So while it wasn't awful, it wasn't critical I get past him, it'd be nice to get past him. It'd be nice if I outscore him again this weekend. And so I got a better start than him, as I expected. Moved to the inside. Obviously we're on the right-hand side. As you are for even numbers, you're on the right-hand side in Silverstone. And he moved across with me. So I'm thinking, balls, okay, that's that plan ruined. I'm not going even tighter. I'm going to hit someone I'm going to understeer and hit someone on the outside. So I lifted off and moved back into my position. Matt stayed where it was. And then as we turned into Turn 1, I turned, he went straight on. It was hilarious because he was so focused on me behind him. He didn't focus on the corner. I don't think he broke enough maybe. He just went straight on. He didn't hit anyone, thank goodness. But he kind of half cut turn 1 into going into turn 2. So on the exit turn 2, we were beside each other, and I just broke so late going into turn 3 and got past him. So I went 6th to 3rd because Fetch forgot to launch. Whoever was beside me is obviously not going to beat me off the line. I never let the person who's next to me beat me off the line. That's never going to happen in life. Never ever. And then Matt was ahead of me. So that was three free positions spoon-fed to me. And then a couple laps later, Tom, who started on softs, got past me and crashed into pink, so I slipped past. That's P2. And then me and Katie just battled the whole race, trying to catch up with MCL. Unfortunately, I didn't get a clip of it. But the thing that Matt did, I don't know if I've explained it very well, but he was so funny. He was so focused on not letting me through. And he spoon-fed it to me. Spoon-fed it to me, Matt. So thank you very much for that. Matt is my driver loser. Yeah, sorry, I haven't actually talked about his race. Qualified P4, finished P11 with a penalty. Shush, get out. Team winner, Alfa Romeo. 1-2 in qualifying, very, very good. Pink got very unlucky and got taken out in I don't know why it says he's qualified 11th. For some reason on this... Did Pink not qualify? According to this, Pink qualified 11th. I think this is wrong. It's got Owls in P2. I think they're supposed to. I think they're mixed up. Okay, so Owls has been given a point for no reason. Okay, so I'm just noticing things in the results. Yeah, Alfa Romeo definitely got a 1-2. Very, very good result from Pink. Sorry, very, very good qualifying from Pink and MCL. Unfortunately, by Pink got taken out, or got taken with Tom. I don't know whose fault it was. That brought him down the order, but he managed to get himself back up to P6. Highest scoring point of a team in the division. Very, very solid once again. MCL nearly won, but got the strategy wrong. So, still team winner for me because these points are so important in their battle with McLaren and AlphaTauri. But they still deserve team winner for me. Team loser, Mercedes. What on earth was going on in the Mercedes garage? I found out after the race, they weren't even in a VC together. Big B was in a VC with other people. I don't know what Glass was doing. And that connected the dots for me of why they did so badly. So they were battling, so I didn't necessarily battle them, but when I was with KD trying to catch up with MCL in that battle for P2, behind us was the battle for P4, which was the two Mercs and Matt. That's 3 names I don't want to be involved with, because if they got involved in this fight, that's now 3 people that are quite quick, obviously, and that are battling with me on point for the championship. I don't want them involved. And I don't know what was going on back there, but they were so messy. The amount of dives, the amount of crashes, well, not crashes necessarily, just looked very dangerous back there. And then they collided with each other at cops. The 2 Mercs hit each other at cops. There needs to be better teamwork. And they were like slowing down, so they were trying to drag themselves towards me and Katie by using DRS and moving out the way and, you know, doing all those like weird things which can allow you to close up using DRS. And they were doing it so badly. They were like slowing down on the line or pulling out the way and then pulling back in again. I don't know. When I'm watching the highlights, I couldn't... I want to be nice and say maybe they had a plan. Maybe what they were doing was good. But they weren't even in a VC together, you know what I mean? And I've said this so many times. Merc have got one of the strongest lineups in Div 3 and they're not using it. So, in fairness, they both had a quality banter, fair play. 17th and 16th up to 4th and then 7th. So fair enough. But they're team loser for me because they could have been more. You know what I mean? Right, for the final race, and the one that I'm sure a lot of the audience are looking forward to because I think a lot of them are from Div 4. We'll talk about Div 4. It's the race on Thursday. And I know I've said this in the previous 2 divisions, but I'm going to say it for this one. Well, go watch the highlights. Go watch the highlights. This is my first time commentating Div 4. So unfortunately, I'm not free on Thursdays usually. Goodness me. I think that might be one of my best commentating performances ever. Because it was just such an unbelievable race. There were so many twists and turns. I think the top 6 started on hards, or at least when the race started going, got going. The top 6 are on hards, and all of them spun. All of them spun. We had a switch of the lead, I think, about 15 times, just based on spins, not just DRS overtake. Including DRS overtake, we might have had 30. So unreal race. I couldn't have predicted at any lap, at any point in that race, what was going to happen. So fantastic race. I really enjoyed doing the commentary. Thank you for everyone welcoming me in and having the hype that they did about the race. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. Driver winner. I'm going to give it to 2 people. I'm going to give it to 2 people. I'm going to give it to Kalik and I'm going to give it to Vlad. Unreal. Khalek qualifying 10th, Vlad qualifying 6th. Did he out-qualify both Ferraris? No, he out-qualified one. So fair play. Both of them in very good positions. Ends up getting a 2 and a 3. I know they're from different teams, but I'm going to give both of them. Like I said, top 6 all spun, and they just benefited off it. Very, very well strategized. Khalek was rapid. Vlad was strategic, stayed within DRS. Probably realised Khalek was lapping quicker than him and just stayed with him. Very, very well done for another podium for both of them. And actually, it's interesting because they both kind of got a similar story. Struggling in the first half, on fire in the second half. And they're really gaining points for their respective teams. Alpha beginning to run away, like I said, from McLaren and from Tauri. Haas beginning to run away from Mercedes after absolutely torpedoing their way through this fight. They went from 9th to 5th in the OCC in like 3 weeks, which is unreal. So, driver winner, 100%. Actually, speaking of, before I move on to driver loser, I'd like to tell you a little fun fact I noticed when I was commentating. And this is something that I don't think I've ever seen in any league ever. There was a 20 grid, whole grid, 20 people, which is lovely to see. Love doing that. And the quali grid was perfectly split. There was a driver from every team in the top 10 and a driver from every team not in the top 10. No mistakes, no differences. There was one driver in the top 10, one driver not. In every single, we had a different team in the top 10, a different team in the top from 11th to 20th. Have you ever seen that before? Can you realise how incredibly even a division must be to be able to get that beautiful split, or at least the teams, I should say, incredibly even to get that beautiful split. That was unreal. And Williams actually had the best positions. They had 1st and 11th, which is the best you could have been in that scenario. They're not my driver loser team loser Williams. I just thought that was a funny thing to say. But unbelievable split. Can you believe what the odds of that happening are? Anyway, sorry. My driver loser is Mr. Baldy. Baldy man, Baldy the bottler, Baldy the basher, Baldy the brutally murderer. Oh dearie me, this was a bad weekend for Baldy. Of course, he has got a seat in Mercedes. He has been putting on solid performances, not groundbreaking ones, but certainly none to shy away from. His main issue is battery management. He's on 6% ERS on lap 5, and that's not the way to be, because you will just get outworked by some of the more maybe experienced or I don't know what the other word is, experienced drivers. But yeah, got in many incidents. Just seemed very desperate this race. So first of all, 10-second 3 penalty points for an awful move was nowhere in will to will. I think this was the one at Stowe, so he dived down the inside of Stowe on Blake and spun him. 10 seconds, 3 penalty points for him on that one. Scroll down and we've got this is actually a penalty for Liam because Baldy went down the inside of Cops and Liam didn't leave room. I can't lie, fine, Liam's fault. Kind of controversial, but I think this is Liam's fault. Why are you there in the first place? Why are you trying to make a move down the inside of Cops? Like, it's there has to be an element of trust and the other driver to make a move in Cops. I didn't make a move in Cops. It's not, and if I had, I would have done it to MCL. I would have made a move on Pink. I would have made a move on probably Matt, because those drivers I know are competent. Their awareness is very good, and I trust them. And this is no disrespect to him. I was no way make a move on Cops on the inside of Big B, of CGM, and I hate to say it, Liam. And this isn't because they're bad drivers at all. Liam is a fantastic driver. He's been battling me in other leagues. Big B battles me in this season. CGM battles me this season. But it's an element of trust, and it is very personal. It's nothing personal on them. It's just in my head of create an image of, right, if I do this, will Liam give me room? Maybe not. Don't do it. Why are you going down the inside of Cops? I don't know. I mean, it's literally, that is the corner where Hamilton and Verstappen killed each other. Why? You know what I mean? That everyone thinks of that when they're going into Silverstone. I don't know. I just don't think you should be sticking your nose in the inside of Cops, especially if you're unsure at all. And it wasn't even like this is like, because he could maybe he, like I said, it was personal. Maybe he trusted Liam, but look how it ended. You know what I mean? And it's not even like that was the only corner he was diving down the inside of, because I mean Stowe did it to Blake as well. So it's just rushing a lot. Look down here, 5 seconds, 1 penalty point on Blake. The Merc understeers past the apex. Oh, this is the crash in Club. Baldy tried to go down the inside of Club, which is the final corner, and I think just clipped Blake. I mean, again, I would argue for this one on Baldy's behalf. it's very minor in terms of like that could have been seen as Blake's fault. Similarly to say that the crash at Cops could be seen as Liam's fault as well. Obviously, it was in the penalties. It's just a bit too close, you know what I mean? And this is what Raven said in the previous podcast, that every incident is at least 2% your fault. And I would argue these incidents are at least 30% Baldy's fault. I mean, this one he was penalised for. So I don't know why what's the idea about being down the inside? This is the third incident that's got him 5+ seconds and at least 1, 2, or 3 penalty points. He hasn't got another one, has he? Let me have a look. I feel like he had another one. No, maybe not. So that's 3 incidents, all with a McLaren and all just diving down the inside of corners that don't really need to be dived down the inside of. Stowe is way too rounded to be down the inside unless you're really short. Cops, very similar. The final corner in Club, I mean, the grip points in that corner are non-existent. You're half throttling, at least I am. I'm being careful in that corner. And there's been crashes there before. There was a crash there in almost every division. I think the only division there wasn't a crash there was Division 1. And that was rain as well. So, I don't know. It just seems like a very rushed race from Baldy. Maybe he's panicking. I don't know why he's so desperate to overtake. I think just be patient. Especially Cops. I mean, there's a DRS straight coming up right after, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's just me. I'm a patient driver. I don't rush it. Team winner for me, got to be Alfa Romeo. Nothing teamworky like, just 2 individual very good races. And if we look at, if I load it back up again, I think obviously Vlad finished 3rd. K1 Yo finished 7th after qualifying 13th. Vlad finished 3rd, like I said, after qualifying 6th. Good improvements, good points, and obviously Vlad was a very good signing. K1 Yo is probably better and better. Obviously he's new in this kind of league racing scene. Great to see him up there. Great to see him up there fighting, and we've got a really strong division here. I say very strong division. All of the divisions for Alfa Romeo are very strong, which is a lovely way to be. It's a very calming feeling, I'm sure, for Dodo to know that you've got some big point scorers every day of the race weekend. My team loser for sure, McLaren. Liam's lag was all over the place. Liam got taken out by Charlie on his screen, but it wasn't. It was actually lag. So it's almost like taking yourself out with lag. He was probably in the running to win the race. If not, he was up there. And under safety car, he spun down to the back due to lag, down to I think 13th, 14th, and then couldn't get up anywhere from there. Blake collided with Dan, I want to say 3 times, twice or 3 times, and actually put Dan in the wall as well. And obviously the 2 incidents of Goldie I talked about previously. I don't, and this applies to Goldie just as much as it applies to Blake. Every incident is at least 2% your fault, sometimes more, sometimes less. Sorry, never less, sometimes more. So maybe it's just awareness. You're not in this many incidents with more than one person for just a maybe. You know what I mean? You're the common denominator. And while I do believe that one of the incidents was Dan's fault, the one that put him in the wall so far away, by the way, turn 4, all the way at the wall on the right hand side. I mean, how do you even get over there? I would believe is Blake's fault. So a double, it's a DNF for Blake and 2 points for Liam, 1 fastest lap and 1 for P15. I don't know how the championship rivals between those 2 in Melbourne all performing so badly, but the gap now is incredibly close. So if you look at the points, so Liam's leading, 3 points behind is Melvin, and 11 points behind is Blake, and 12 points behind is Charlie. Oh my lord, it's so close. And then Vlad's only 50 points behind that, so it's definitely recoverable. This is getting interesting, you know. Alright, well, thank you very much everyone for joining me on another little relaxing 40 minutes of XRS, listening to my voice, chat, I'm not going to swear on it, but chat certain opinions on certain drivers. And I hope you enjoyed the backwards order, starting with Division 1. Thought I'd mix it up a little bit. Maybe people beginning to get a routine. Maybe if you're a Division 1 or Division 2 driver, you're getting a routine where if the premiere is at 7 o'clock, you join it at like 7:20 just to get your division. Well, you've just missed your division, mate, because I've done the order the wrong way around. So take that. But yeah, thank you very much everyone for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the Silverstone weekend. I certainly did. I think one of the best weekends we've had all season. We're moving to Canada. We have officially finished our European section of the calendar. We're now moving to well, everywhere actually. We're heading off to the Americas first for Canada and COTA, then Singapore, and then we're heading back to the Middle East, just like we started the season for Jeddah and Abu Dhabi, the season finale. But it is Canada next. It's going to be walls, it's going to be track limits, it's going to be more track limits, it's going to be more track limits, and it's going to be another wall to finish. It's going to be a crazy one. Join me there, because I will be there. Look forward to it. See you all soon.